Ich fand es wirklich eine tolle Veranstaltung.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajala Acharya Sthitare Srismada Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Hari
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept a humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Krishna Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, Her Grace VRAJALILA Devi, and all glories to our Samad Vaishnava devotees. Today is Monday, another beginning of a new week, and we are very fortunate we have our own mother here with us today. Father Raj, thank you so much for being here. And in 3 days' time, I'm going to see you in person. Yes. That Gurudev's fever is hitting everybody. So we got to ban it out. Without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen and you take it over from here. Hare Krishna. You are muted though.
There you go. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
I thought
Yeah,
I was
Hare
unmuted.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai. You've been having so many wonderful speakers on the platform, Saha. It's been beautiful. Lots of wonderful devotees.
Yeah, by Sri Guru Krishna's grace, yes.
Yeah. and your presence.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Haribo, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here, being online. This is a wonderful Monday, yeah. And as Sahadev is saying, we are totally immersed in preparing for His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, our revered Gurudev. So it's transcendentally chaotic, if there's such a thing. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Muhurdayat Nasta Parasya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 32. These very beautiful, beautiful verses. So I'll chant the Sanskrit and read the verse. Yada tu sarva bhuteshu dareshwavagnim ivastitam prati chakshitamam loko jayat tirhyeva kashmalam. And the synonyms: yada, when, to, but, sarva, all, bhuteshu, in the living entities, darusu, in the wood, agnim, fire, iva, like, stitam, situated, prati chakshita, you shall see, mam, me, me, lokaha, and the universe, jayat, can give up, tarhi, then at once, eva, certainly, kasmalam, illusion. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. You will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe, just as fire is situated in wood. Only in that state of transcendental vision will you be able to be free from all kinds of illusion. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Brahma prayed that he might not forget his eternal relationship with the Lord during the course of his material activities. In answer to that prayer, the Lord said that he should not think of existing without a relationship with his omnipotency. The example is given of fire in wood. The fire kindled in wood is always the same, although the wood may be of different types. Similarly, the bodies within the material creation may be specifically different according to shape and quality, but the spirit soul within them are not different from one another. The quality of fire, warmth, is the same everywhere, and the spiritual spark, or part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit, is the same in every living being. Thus, the potency of the Lord is distributed all over his creation. This transcendental knowledge alone can save one from the contamination of material illusion. Since the Lord's potency is distributed everywhere, a pure soul or devotee of the Lord can see everything in relationship with the Lord, and therefore he has no affection for the outer coverings. That pure spiritual conception makes him immune to all contamination of material association. The pure devotee never forgets the touch of the Lord in all circumstances. Haribo, beautiful verse. Om Ganati Mirandasya, Ganagana Shalakaya, Chakshu Anmilitam Yena, Vismai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam, Sabitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamaya, Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yutaparakamalan, Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupa Sagachatam, Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Sadabhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Satadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Haribol, dear devotees, thank you so very much again for being here. I'm excited and happy and looking forward to seeing some of you, your beautiful, wonderful presence in Gita Nagari in the next few days. So this beautiful verse, so sweet. Krishna, the Lord, was speaking to Lord Brahma, and Brahma is making these prayers. Brahma's prayers, all the prayers of these amazing devotees, the prayers of Queen Kunti, the prayers of the personified Vedas, the prayers of Lord Brahma. Just by studying these prayers, we can understand the mood of a devotee, and we can understand how Krishna reciprocates with the devotees. Because in these prayers, we can always hear the loving exchanges between the Lord and the devotee. So in this particular verse, we're hearing, firstly, in the translation, the emphasis is on Brahma, and the instruction from the Lord is for Brahma to see him, the Lord, in all living entities. And we all know, you will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe. And the wonderful analogy, Srila Prabhupada, there's always an analogy that's used. Actually, Prabhupada uses one in the purport. However, in all of the written translations, there is some form of an analogy that helps us to understand that mood, that particular mood of the devotee and the Lord. So in this translation, the analogy it will be, and Prabhupada will explain it more, fire is situated in wood. And so this, again, in this text, the emphasis is on only in that state. What state? Only in that state of transcendental vision. What state of transcendental vision? Seeing me in all living entities as well as the universe. That's the transcendental vision that Lord Brahma needs to have. And then the translation goes on that if he can have that vision, then he will be free from all illusion. Now that verse is applicable even 2025 now, when all of us are faced with some of the same challenges in some ways. Brahma is a little concerned, a little confused, trying to understand what he's supposed to do, how he's to do it. He's wanting more information. He's giving himself to the Lord fully and requesting from the Lord what to do in the form of prayers. And the Lord is reciprocating with him. And I'm guessing all of us do that at maybe every day or at some point, as we're in the process of Krishna consciousness. We're all get to places in our practice where we get a little confused, a little bewildered, how to move forward. What do I do now? Oh, my dear Lord, please help me. Oh, my beloved Guru, please help me. So this is the mood of Lord Brahma. He's crying out, right? Asking. And this is so wonderful in the purport where Prabhupada is saying that Brahma prayed that he might not forget. So he's asking, please, Krishna, don't let me forget my eternal relationship with you during the course of my material activities. So again, this is, as I reflected on that statement of Lord Brahma, or that part of his prayer, we can understand that that's our situation in our everyday life. We're all like asking the Lord to please, please let me not forget my relationship with you, especially in these times. You know, this is very materially chaotic times, and this is all over the world. And if I mean, I'm sure as you, even as we speak today, we might be at war, right? Any moment. That's just the reality. And everyone will need to try to figure out, you know, like, what do I do? Is there a bunker near me if there's something that's going to happen? You know, some people might not even be thinking about that because for some, they might not really be focused so much on what's happening in the external material world. But for others, they may really have some concerns about some of these activities that are going on. However, in this particular verse with Lord Brahma is internally connecting with Krishna. And no matter what chaotic situation we may all face, the fact is that we do all need to connect with Krishna internally. And so his internal prayer to the Lord is, please let me not forget you. And so similarly, in the chaotic situations that we're all facing, that is also our prayers, right? Dear Lord, no matter what might happen, this might go on, that might go on, the material world, it's falling apart, the illusion is crazy. Dear Lord, please, please, please don't let me ever forget you. And in the 10th canto, in that 14th chapter, there's beautiful verses where actually those are the prayers of Brahma in the 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's one of the prayers that Brahma prayed, which is what Prabhupada is referencing here. And in that prayer, Brahma says, my dear Lord, I pray to be so fortunate that in this life as Lord Brahma, or in another life, wherever I take birth, I may be counted as one of your devotees. And that's the potency of being a devotee. That's the prestigious position transcendentally of being a devotee. Lord Brahma is teaching us by his example to that no matter where he could take birth, even in another species, just that he can somehow remember that he have some connection with the Supreme Lord. And he says, Brahma says in that prayer, this is in 10, 14, 30, if anyone is interested to read those prayers. I just took one of the prayers, one part of this prayer. And he says, I pray that wherever I might be, wherever, even among the animal species, I can engage in devotional service to your lotus feet. This is Brahma's mood. So as I meditate on this mood of Lord Brahma, I can only check in with myself and see, do I have this kind of meditation? Do I ever think, dear Krishna, you know, if a war comes or, you know, whatever might happen here, you know, in America is whatever might happen here. Krishna, I just want to take birth as your devotee even a lower species, even if I can be like a bee. We have bees right now flying everywhere. And bees can be very dangerous, you know. We have different kinds of bees. I'm diverting a little bit just so we can understand the animal species. There's different kinds of bees. There's a kind of bee out here called carpenter bee, I believe. And when it stings you, it doesn't stop stinging. It just keeps stinging, keeps stinging. And so we have to be very cautious and very, very conscientious about keeping the doors open, just be attentive, because the bees, if they get agitated, very definitely they will sting. And so Brahma is asking, no matter what the body is, or for example, in other countries, mosquitoes, right? Nobody wants to get bitten by mosquitoes. So Brahma is saying, if I even have to be whatever species of life, that's fine. Just let me be a devotee. Let me be somewhere near a devotee, right? And so he just want to engage in devotional service. We remember the pastime of Vujat Bharat and, that whole pastime of the deer and just to have some remembrance, right, of who I may have been or what I may have done at some time in previous life with devotees, or Gajendra the elephant, how he remembered the prayers. So even in an animal body, to be able to remember, what relationship or what activities one may have had with the Lord. So this is Brahma's mood. He's praying like that. And this was the mood of His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, our revered Guru Maharaj. He wrote many books. However, there were 4 books that he wrote that was in this mood of supplication, mood of humility, mood of being prayerful, mood of asking Krishna no matter what's going on with him. And we know that he, even when he's just like Brahma, right? When he speaks, he's a very dear servant of the Lord. He doesn't think about anything else but serving the Lord. And so the same is there for those personalities like Srila Prabhupada, like our revered spiritual master. That was his full dedication, full on. Yet he placed himself in that position of speaking in the mood of Trinada Pisuni Chena, Tarora Pisahishuna, Amanina Amanidena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. That was his mood always, to be in this humble state of mind. And so, sometimes we kind of minimize the power of humility. However, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, he wrote 4 books on looking at this process of humility from different angles. And he always made himself like the person that was the most fallen. He actually understood every situation that a person in material consciousness could be in. And he placed himself in any one of those situations that we could think about, whatever it may be in terms of material consciousness. He placed himself in that position in order to help us to know, I hear you, I understand you, I know what that is like. He, not that he himself was in that situation. However, that's the mood of the great devotees. They use themselves as examples to help others. So here in this, when Brahma is praying in this way, please let me never forget. I mean, the power of a devotee is Krishna loves his devotee more than he loves himself. In many situations, we hear this, how Krishna makes himself available for his devotees. So Brahma is fully aware of as I said, the potency of a devotee. And so then Krishna is answering his prayers. And I love this because Bhaktitirtha Maharaj writes his meditation in the same mood. He is, first, he's also bowing himself down to the Lord. And then he talks about for the purpose of helping us, what are different anarthas that we may be facing. And he uses himself as an example. And then he also, in his prayers, for those of you that maybe haven't been reading his prayers lately, if you haven't, he also channel in a way the Lord answering him. So here we see it in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma is making these prayers and he's channeling the answer from the Lord. And in answer to that prayer, the Lord said that he should not think of existing without a relationship with his omnipotency. So what does that mean? What does that mean to not think about, not think yourself separate from the omnipotency of the Lord? Well, first of all, let's look at what omnipotent means. So when a person, in this case, Krishna is omnipotent. So he is a constant companion with us. We all are aware that Krishna, the Lord, is within the heart as Paramatma, and that he's there giving us remembrance and forgetfulness all the time. And that when someone, in this case, understanding omnipotence in relationship to the Lord, Prabhupada is explained in one of the, I believe it's in Canto 2, that omnipotence means that he's not different from his name, from his quality, from his pastimes, from his instructions. He's not different from any of that. right? And so in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna explains that he's not different from his word. Krishna and his word are both the same. So he's fully in touch with his words, and his words and him are non-different. This is the meaning of omnipotence. So another example of being omnipotent for us to kind of understand what Krishna is saying to Brahma, don't separate yourself from me in any way. Always know, like, I'm existing within everything. And if you keep that consciousness, then that vision of being transcendental will always be with you. You will always have that vision of transcendence. You will always be free from the illusion. If you always remember, I am not Krishna is not separate from anything. Krishna is within everything. He also explains this is in the first canto. I was looking up what omnipotence means from the point of Srimad Bhagavatam. I didn't go to the dictionary because I thought sometimes a dictionary gives a bit of a secular understanding. But so here he's explaining that omnipotence means that everything is related to him and has the same potency. So everything that's related to Krishna, his paraphernalia, all his, as we said, the Bhagavad Gita, his words, his form, his pastimes, all of this makes him omnipotent, right? He's the most powerful. And so this is important in terms of understanding the analogy that Prabhupada uses of fire and wood, because Prabhupada explains that fire kindled in wood is always the same. Yeah, although wood may be of different types, he explains like that, may be different. Prabhupada uses that in the purport explaining about different bodies. There may be different bodies, but we know the spirit soul in every body, even the bee that can sting us and can kill us, right? I recently read something where, diverting again, just to let you guys know, Prince William, I was reading, because here, like I said, we're a little bit absorbed, at least I'm a little bit absorbed with bees here in Gitanagari. But Prince William's friend swallowed a bee and he died. He died. You know what I mean? He swallowed the bee. I don't know why he swallowed the bee. I mean, I don't know if the bee was in the drink or what. But that was a big crisis for Prince William, his friend. They're out together. And they took him, rushed him to the hospital, and he died. So the bee I don't know what the bee did inside his body, but so Prabhupada is saying, okay, so try to understand that spirit soul that killed that person in the stomach. He also was a spirit soul. He also had the Atma was in him. So he might have a bee body, and somebody could not, from that experience of hearing that, if they revere the prince or revere the prince's friend, they could hate bees, right? But however, Prabhupada gives us the understanding. But even the bee in that body, he's it's like the fire in the wood. It's there is the spirit soul that's there. You can't take that away from from anything that's created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is always a spirit soul. So yeah, then the next point, which I'm gonna pause for a minute, because in this verse, Prabhupada goes from one point to another, and each point emphasizes something that is really important for us as we are meditating on our own, evolving in Krishna consciousness. So first point that he spoke about is this point that of Lord Brahma bowing to the Lord in prayer, Krishna answering him in prayer. Prabhupada using this analogy to help us that what Krishna is saying to Lord Brahma is that, I'm everywhere. I'm in everything. You see me like this. See me as all powerful in everything. And then the next point that he's making, he shifts, Prabhupada shifts in this purport. And he says, transcendental knowledge alone can save one from the contamination of material illusion. So just to know these 2 points, just to understand those 2 points in the purport, in the translation, can save us from material illusion. Now, that seems pretty simple. Like, right? I mean, just to hear that, okay, I offer prayers to the Lord and I acknowledge the Lord is supreme, the Lord is omnipotent. I acknowledge, that there's spirit, soul in everyone. That can remove all my illusion in the material world, all my material coverings. How do we understand that? So that's what I'm going to ask a couple of you to share. How do you understand that? I'm a little curious. So I'm going to do it a little differently today, Saha. I'm going to have an interactive. Because I know there's a lot on devotees' minds, and I could tell by Sahade's face, there's some things on the mind. So I really want to go there and hear what's going on. Okay, let's go.
Hare Krishna. As you were reading the purport, I was also thinking to myself, some devotees had been asking Srila Prabhupada lots of questions, and Srila Prabhupada would oftentimes refer them to reading his books, that he has answered every question in his books. And so as you were reading the purport, I was thinking to myself, wow, there were some few things that we had been discussing right here on this platform. And Srila Prabhupada is helping us understand that Krishna is telling Lord Brahma, in order to avoid the pitfall of the material energy, he, Brahma, should see him, Krishna, in all beings. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself how sometimes some of us become so, excuse me to say, sectarian, thinking that if someone does not read Bhagavad Gita, does not read Srimad Bhagavatam, does not put on tilak, do not put on sari or dhoti, he is doomed. But that is not what Krishna is saying. And you have us emphasize Srila Prabhupada's usage of the word omnipotency. So if we understand that Krishna is in all things, in everything, and also remember what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, that whenever we come across someone else worshiping God in a different way, we should appreciate and say, wow, my Lord is served in different ways. We should appreciate instead of cursing. So I very much appreciate your input to this purport, that we should try to see Krishna in all things. Just like Srila Prabhupada also gave this analogy, fire in wood, which is so beautiful. We all can attest to that. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. I'm going to see if anyone else has a reflection before we go on with the rest of this purport. Because those 2 points Prabhupada made, somebody could really question, wait a minute. I just need to know those 2 things. And I could be, free from all my material contamination. And then we'll talk about what material contamination really is. Okay, maybe one more other person. Okay, let's move on then to talking about identifying the source of contamination. What is material contamination? So the first thing that we know, this is Bhagavad Gita 101, our contamination comes from thinking that we're this material body, right? And we hear that from the time we enter a temple. There are 2 things that we receive. One is the Maha Mantra from the devotees or the guru. When one is initiated, they officially get the holy name, the Maha Mantra. And the second thing is the theology of Krishna consciousness. And the theology of Krishna consciousness starts with, you're not that body. We're not that body, right? We hear that again and again, year after year, year after year. Now, what is it that makes us not just get that? What is it that stops us from getting, I'm not this body. I'm really not this body. of course, there are some of the devotees on this forum that are very evolved and really do know that. So I'm not in any way wanting to minimize, as Sahadev said, minimization of people comes in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we minimize the devotees thinking they're not advanced or whatever, So no way do I want to minimize the devotees on this call. I know some of the devotees are very exalted and they may totally understand that they're not their bodies. I can speak for myself. I don't always totally have that realization that I'm not my body. And so what is it that stops me from not realizing that I'm not my body, even though I've been hearing that 40 years plus, right? That's one of our real issues. When we talk about issues in the material world, that's a huge issue. We think we're the body. I think I'm my body. So when we look at transcendental knowledge, when we look at trying to understand what Krishna is saying to Lord Brahma, to have that vision, that transcendental vision, the transcendental knowledge, it reveals the root of this contamination, which is basically ignorance, right? Avidya. People are in ignorance. This is the reason why we forget true identity. And we do know that in this material world, the material world is mainly composed of the different modes: goodness, passion, ignorance, right? And most people in this material world that are in the mode of ignorance, they will not understand that they're not their bodies. So then somebody could say, well, once you become a devotee, then you're not in a mode of ignorance anymore. You kind of know you're not the body. Yes, this is a fact. Once we become devotees, when we've taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the spiritual teachers in disciplic succession that are helping us to understand this true reality that we're not the body, we may understand theoretically oftentimes that we're not the body. We learn that. It's just like a child when they're learning their ABCs, right? They start singing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, whatever. And they sing, and every day they sing. And sometimes they miss, and sometimes they get it, and sometimes they don't. So we're like that. We're singing every day. I'm not my body, I'm not my body, I'm not my body, I'm not. Some days we miss it. I'm not my body. However, as devotees, we are very blessed and we're very privileged to have been given the ABCs, right? In the form of I'm not my body. So we sing it every day. Now, to get the full total realization of that, that may take sometimes lifetimes. It may take, or it could take, Prabhupada says, what, in 18 days that we could become Krishna conscious? He said that from the Bhagavad Gita. So it's again up to us, and not fully totally up to us, because we do need the mercy. We do need the grace from the pure devotees of the Lord. Sahadev was mentioning about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and yeah, he's, taught us. He spent his life sharing with us how not to be sectarian, how to be inclusive, how to understand that Krishna has made himself available, for everyone. That's what he's telling Brahma. See me in every living entity. And every living entity is given a different way for them to understand the Lord, right? Every living entity according to their Sukriti, and according to their choices, they're given different ways of how they could eventually come to this place of being a devotee where they can hear the song. You're not your body, you're not your body, you're not your body, right? And then when they get to that place, now they've gotten the understanding of it, or they've gotten the theology of it. Now the practical aspect of it is a little bit different. And so what is it that highlights us not getting the theology of we're not our bodies? What's the block? What is it that separates us from having that real reality? Just a little curious. Maybe we could get one person to answer that question. What is it that drives us to the world, the material, to taking sometimes shelter of the material world. Sati, yay. Okay, Sati, thank you.
This is your last question because I was taking a shower and I listened to you, but I was like walking to take a shower before Malgrati this morning. My mind was like dictating to me, like it was just making its presence known and what its opinion was and what it's like. After something happened yesterday, my mind was like telling its version of it, and then I was like walking, and then I was thinking about my Guru Dev, and I was thinking how he said that you're making your mind your guru, and I was like, stop. I just stopped listening to it and just got quiet. So I was just on to share that, I guess.
That's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Sati Devi. And it's so nice to see you also. So nice.
I said not anymore.
Yeah. No, this verse is about Brahma appreciating devotees in many ways. And so, again, this appreciation for devotees, we don't know how long any of us will be on the planet. So I really do want to appreciate Sati for taking care of her husband. I mean, she took her husband to Sadhu Sangha, which is a drive, and somehow or other her husband is not well. And not to say that her husband can't outlive you, me, and everybody else. But in any case, just Sati's dedication, to her husband and caring for him. This is devotee, this is devotee. Devotees show their qualities in many different ways. So thank you, Sati. I appreciate so much how you're being an example for all of us in taking care of a sick person, because it's not easy to do that. Yeah. Thank you for that. And yes, you're absolutely right. The mind can be our biggest distraction. What is it that drives the mind to be our distraction? What is it in terms of when we think about the modes of material nature? What is it that keeps the mind distracted from here listening to the intelligence, so that at least we can always act at least in the mode of goodness? Prabhupada says at least we need to come to the mode of goodness. So what is that creation that Krishna, that even Brahma sometimes exhibit to help teach us? What is that keeps us kind of distracted? Srila Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, he writes about this quite often. So I'm trying to, I'm kind of really tired, so I'm trying to stay awake, and I can only stay awake by you guys interacting with me. So this is one of those classes where we're like going to be totally interactive because I need to be awake. We've been working like till late at night trying to, yeah, it's been a little intense. Anyway, yeah, quick question. Okay, so not to put anybody on the spot, but our revered spiritual master, he speaks about this so much is false egos, right? Our false egos. So our false ego directs our minds, to make these choices and decisions that keeps us in the bodily concept of life. And because our false egos are so powerful, it leads us into thinking that, we are not, it could give us so many doubts about whether or not we can actually act totally in transcendence, right? And so when we get these doubts, then the mind stays and the mind stays in the bodily concept of life. And however, Krishna says, but I've given you the boat of knowledge, right? There's a boat of knowledge that you can cross over nescience. Sri Upanishad explains that we need to understand nescience and transcendence side by side. So Krishna says, I've given you this boat of transcendental knowledge. And so in this boat, once we get in this boat of transcendental knowledge, we start understanding that this material world or this illusion is like an ocean of suffering. And we see it all around us, right? We see it. Even persons and my daughter, she's a Christian minister, and she's very conscious of God in her life. I mean, she reference God often as the Son, Jesus. However, there's qualities that I have seen in a Christian person that makes them, even sometimes we use the word sentimental, right? Sentimentally attached, but even sentimentally attached is better than not being attached. It's very attached to understanding the servant Jesus in relationship to the Father God, and understanding that this knowledge from the Bible for her is like the knowledge that will let her cross over this material world. And I'm always, it's really interesting for me to, when I speak with her, to hear her speak like that. You know, this world is just a place of suffering, and she quotes about the Bible, and it's just beautiful. So again, back to Sahade's point, everyone is, you know, searching for the Lord in some way or another. And in some ways, Krishna makes that available for them. So this knowledge that is given to us from the Srimad Bhagavatam on the path of bhakti, this knowledge gives us the boat directly to Krishna's abode, directly to Goloka Vrindavan. And that's our great fortune. And this knowledge gives us the insight and the understanding about how to detach from the material world. Not detach from the material world in a way of being resentful and angry and, you know, I'm better than, or thinking that we have it all. We're sectarian. We got you know, we have all the knowledge. We're on the boat back to Goloka Vrindavan. Nobody else is. Not like that. But to understand that, yeah, what is material attachments? It's our desires and our attachments. And even the people on the boat get that. They have material desires and attachment. They're on the boat. But still, they're the, like my Guru Maharaj always says, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, it's like a fan. And when you plug out the fan, then, you know, it still keeps going. So we're in the process, right? And I was just listening yesterday to a class where a devotee, I can't remember who that was explaining. I think it was from the African Yatra I was listening to, I can't remember, that from Shraddha to Prema, the largest part of our process is anartha nivritti, is moving through all of the different, you know, anarthas that we may have developed from previous conditioning. And that's one of the reasons that understanding anartha nivritti is so important. And that's one of the reasons our revered spiritual masters spend so much time on anartha nivritti, to help us to understand how to stay afloat on this ocean of suffering, this ocean of material suffering, by having this transcendental knowledge. And this transcendental knowledge teaches us to appreciate the devotees, to understand how important the devotees are. They are so important to Krishna. Therefore, we need to understand how important we are to each other. So this is the mood, you know, Lord Brahma is playing. Don't let me, please, don't let me ever take birth away from devotees. No matter what, let me be an insect in the house of a devotee, because at least I'll get the crumb of a devotee, which will be prasadam. You know, something like, you know, some way I'll be connected with the Lord. And so now this is the third part of what this purport is explaining to us, is about really understanding the difference between material contamination and transcendental knowledge. So then Prabhupada shifts again a little bit, and then he tells us, he says, since Krishna's potency is everywhere, Krishna is everywhere, and then he goes into pure devotees. He goes into, well, so who's examples of this, right? Who are examples? Tell us. This is real. Krishna is everywhere. Then some people must be there. And now in our Kali Yuga mentality, we tend to think, and you know, I'm not saying I'm not like that too. We tend to think, nobody's pure. This is Kali Yuga. Everybody got some fault, you know, some problems, some issue. Now there's all kinds of isms. There's Ritvism, there's thisism, there's that ism, there's, you know, so many different isms about trying to understand who's really pure. But it's there in the Bhagavatam, right? We get some understanding. So even if we take it out of this material world, let's just go to the Bhagavatam and see who is some pure person. That's a safe place. Let's go to the safe place. Who's some pure person in the Bhagavatam? So there's some personalities like Prahlad Maharaj, right? He's a pure devotee of the Lord. He faced all kinds of calamities, craziness from his father. And somehow or other, he stood, you know, by that conviction of being devoted and dear to the Lord. And that's one of the qualities of a pure devotee. Pure devotees, everything they do, all their intentions, everything that they're doing is because of their love for the Lord. And so Prahlad Maharaj certainly is an example of that. Young boy, he faced persecution, but didn't change his devotion to Krishna, right? It wasn't like Bhakti Maharaj write a meditation like that. I think it's the meditation yesterday from Beggar 1, where he says, he explains who is, oh yeah, don't preach to preach. Don't preach to preach. Don't be a preacher that's just preaching to preach. Because when it really comes down to it, when you're faced with some different calamity, or when you're faced with, being a real example for others, the tendency is we want to preach to other people to be examples, but we might, our own self in our own person, we might minimize being the example that we need to be. So his mood is don't preach to preach. When you have it together, then you can preach. This is Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's mood. And so then the other example is Dhruva Maharaj. Of course, we know Dhruva Maharaj, he's a prince, he's intense in austerities, and then he got the vision of the Lord, and then he got his desires to become a great devotee. He got so many material opportunities, but he at the end, I just want to be a devotee. I just want to be a devotee of the Lord, in the mood of Lord Brahma. And then, of course, the gopis of Vrindavan. Can't forget how dedicated, these devotees are. We can't forget the pastime when, Krishna's wanting him and Balarama playing, and he's asking, I think, for some, I can't remember exactly the whole pastime, but he's asking for, I believe it was some food or something. And when he sent the devotee to the gopis, he said, don't ask the husbands, because the husbands, they won't respond. Go to the gopis, they will respond, So Krishna knows. So these devotees, their love, is characterized by complete surrender, lack of self-interest. Everything for them is focused on Krishna, everything. So these are examples of pure devotees. We don't have to be in so much confusion and dialogue about who's a pure devotee, because it's really there in the scriptures. And really, Lord Chaitanya tells us, if we consider everybody else to be a devotee and we're not a devotee, everybody else is pure, I'm not pure, then that's the proper consciousness to have. So there's many other examples. There's Narada Muni, there's Hanuman, so there's so many examples of pure devotees of the Lord that we can use as examples if we're having some doubts about the personalities that may be in here now, in this time, in the material world. And the last point that Prabhupada makes in this purport, I believe, is the point where he says that that pure spiritual conception makes the pure devotees immune to all contamination of material association. The pure devotees. They have no desire other than to serve and love Krishna and bring others to the lotus feet of Krishna. That's their only purpose. And he says, this point I really love here, that he says, the pure devotee never forget the touch of the Lord in all circumstances. So we've all been touched by the Lord. You know how we've been touched? By the mercy of our spiritual master. We've gotten the mercy of our spiritual master to get that touch. And we can, how we can tell we got the touch? Because all of us are in some way or another engaging in devotional service and offering it to others. Some might be bigger, or maybe appear to be bigger, but who is it that the spider, who was that in the, at Sri Lanka? Can't remember now, but anyway, we know the pastime, even in Lord Ram's pastime. Everyone was important. Every person that took a little rock, whatever, was important. So every person that's engaged somehow by the mercy of the spiritual master in devotional service is special and important. And no matter what part of them might have some still conditioning, as we say, there's a psychological study that explains we all have different parts of ourselves. And we might have a part of ourselves that might be angry. We might have a part of ourselves that might, have had some abuses, whatever. And all those parts They're part of us, but it's not the whole apple, right? The whole apple, when we put it all of it together, that seed inside the apple is it, which we can think of as the soul, that's there in everyone, in everyone. So even though we may have a part, maybe a part of our apple might be rotten, but the other parts might be good. So we all have little rotten parts. We all have little demoniac parts. At least I know I do. But those parts are easily removed or easily minimized by the mercy of the spiritual master. And so if we see each other like that, oh, this part of this person maybe needs some work. I don't understand it. This part of the person might really irritate me. This part, but remember, it's just a part of that person that's in the process, that's getting the purification necessary. And every one of us in this material world is getting some kind of purification. And Bhakti, this is the path to help us to speed up that purification so that we don't, even when we're rocking on the boat, we know, okay, but I'm heading in the right direction. I'm heading in the right direction, and there's others holding me up. They're holding me up and helping me to go there, back to the spiritual world. And even if it means coming back here, okay, we'll do that to serve the Lord, the devotees. Okay, my dear friends, that's what I got. So please share with me what you have.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother, as always. Thank you for engaging us in this katha. Dear devotees, if anyone may have comments, reflections, questions, you may want to share or ask, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to share or ask your questions. Dr. Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Haribo, Hare Krishna. Mother, please
Hare
can I
Krishna,
accept my
Bhakta.
special obeisances? All glory to Guru Deva, Orchestra Prabhupada, and all glory to you, and all glory to the wonderful assembled devotees. Yes, I just have this reflection. I think since the program of Genesis of how Krishna come to West Africa, I've been absent for a while, but I think you'll be the first person to speak among those groups. And today it has really given me a lot of reflection about that program. And it has really, really had a big impact on me. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to His Grace Adev Prabhu for organizing and the others who organized those programs. So many ways it has made me feel so guilty and ungrateful because what all of you went through to bring Hare Krishna to West Africa, it is what is me myself, what I'm profiting today. And I ask myself, if I'm in that position, am I going to do all this? Or what am I be complaining and saying all kind of things? But you all sacrifice yourself to give this to West Africa. And Mother, I thank all of you so much. I think other people will be feeling the same way, but this is how I feel. And many times, I feel a lot of guilty because I'm not be able to do what I have to do in my Krishna consciousness. And we give a lot of excuses. But all of you give your life for us so that we can benefit today. And seeing you today has also bring all this back to me, how the program went, all that we heard. And I just wanted to thank you again and thank His Grace Adev Prabhu and his team for bringing this program. So thank you so much. And we are begging for your mercy to help us, a little mercy of yours, so that we can not be like you, but we can follow your footsteps. And we stop complaining for everything. So thank you so much, Mother. I'm very happy to see you today. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Dr. Hassan, thank you for your personal reflection. Thank you so much. And thank you for your humility. I mean, it's amazing, you know, in terms of the African mission. That was mercy, you know, that we received. That was grace, mercy from Srila Prabhupada and from our Guru Maharaj, who was so dedicated to following Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And I can say personally, for me, my development in my Krishna consciousness came from being in Africa, from giving books and having to answer questions, you know, to many, 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 many souls that were eager and enthusiastic to learn and to grow. And that made me want to learn and grow more. And so the best of my years, as I always say, in terms of my Krishna consciousness getting nurtured, was from being with the devotees in Africa. And so I will always eternally take that with me, that Gurudev gave me an opportunity, Srila Prabhupada gave me an opportunity to experience devotional life with fellow devotees, you know, of like mind in Africa. Because for me, it just flowed. All those years, I never even thought about it. I was just like, this is my life, you know, it was beautiful. It wasn't like, in some ways it was austere, but I don't know. I think Sati could say the same thing. It's austere, but it's not, I don't know, the benefit I was receiving, the mercy I was receiving, the taste for Krishna consciousness I was receiving was bigger than the austerities. So I thank you. And I thank devotees like Sahadev and all the devotees in Africa that are genuinely curious, genuinely sincere, genuinely enthusiastic, and genuinely have a desire to grow in love of God. That's what's beautiful. That's what's beautiful. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Bhakta Hassan.
Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, for such a recognition. And Brother Braj, again, just like Dr. Hassan said, we can't thank you enough, but we can always express our appreciation. I have a question from the text. Let me see if I can put it up here. The text itself says, Krishna is speaking. It says, speaking to Lord Brahma, you will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe, just as fire is situated in wood. So this is Krishna assuring Lord Brahma that this is what is going to happen to you. And I was wondering what made Krishna speak that way to Lord Brahma. Then I went to the previous verse and I got the answer from there, because the previous verse 31 says that, O Brahma, when you are absorbed in devotional service, in the course of your creative activities, you will see me in you and throughout the universe. And you will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. So Krishna telling Lord Brahma that Lord Brahma will see he, Krishna, in all beings, in all things, is as a result of his absorbed devotional service. Now, my question is, just like you said, there is so much going on in this material world, and we live in this material world, and it's almost impossible to disassociate ourselves from all these things going on around us. So how do we, in the midst of all these material destructions, get ourselves absorbed in devotional service so that we may see Krishna in all beings, in all things? How do we get ourselves absorbed in devotional service amidst all these chaotic conditions we find ourselves in every day, every night. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Jai Saha. Thank you so much. As you were sharing, I kept looking to the Sanskrit, the synonyms, because usually the synonyms help us to understand, that mood of the acharyas. And what I saw here is stihitam, situated, and pratichakshita, pratichakshita, you shall see. So the idea is to get situated for us to be able to see the Lord. And what is it that we want to get situated in? What is it that we're doing to be situated? And that's to engage in devotional service. And so, as you nicely shared from the verse before, to engage in devotional service, that's the prerequisite. And that's what we see from all of the different pastimes. Everyone is engaged in devotional service. So then the question is, how do we stay consistently engaged in devotional service? Like hour to hour, day to day. That might be something for each of us to reflect on. How can I see Govinda every time he's here, he's at the wheels, right? How can Govinda see that wheel that he drives as like the chakra of Krishna as he's driving? Or how can he see that wheel as some part of Krishna's paraphernalia that he gets blessed to be able to connect with on a daily basis? I mean, so it's a transformation of transforming our material vision to spiritual vision, to seeing everything, as Krishna says, in him, everything in him. And that just requires us to be hearing and chanting, because that's the fuel, right? Like your car needs gas. We don't put gas in the car, it won't go. So similarly, if we don't put gas, or if we don't put the spiritual food, if we don't give ourselves the spiritual food that we need, Govinda won't be able to see that wheel as connected with Krishna. It won't happen because we're not nourishing ourselves, the way that we need to. So you, as a health practitioner, Saha, that if people don't take their medicines, they're just going to get more sick. And so we got to take the medicine. It's not always nice to take the medicine. And especially when we take that same medicine every day, it sometimes can get a little, and please forgive me there, Lord, but it can get a little boring. Like, okay, every day I'm going to get up and chant. Every day I'm going to read. Every day I'm going to serve the devotees. You know what I mean? We live in a place that's just not conducive to that. Totally not conducive, as you nicely said. Totally. And not only is it not conducive to us engaging in those practices, it has so many variegations. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj Gurudev used to say, permutations and permutations and computations, or some words he used to use, of the material world. Like there's everywhere you look, there's a variegated way, that we can enter into the modes of even goodness. Mode of goodness can be totally deluding. It can totally keep us off track. So we got to be really, and I don't personally like to use these kinds of words, because I love that bhakti is a sweet process. So I like the sweetness of bhakti. So it's kind of more like Gurudev, he was a warrior. So I'm going to use one of Gurudev's words because that was his mood. We got to be like warriors. We got to be warriors with the process. We really do, because we can get wounded at any time, any moment. So how do we do that? How do we stay from not being wounded? Well, I can share with you what kind of helps me. Little things help me. Little things. Like every day hearing something about Krishna. Every day hearing like some story about Krishna. I try to connect with those devotees that like to speak about Krishna. Like, for example, Sachinandan Swami. If we listen to any of his classes, he's always telling some story about Krishna, stories we never even heard. you know, and there's many devotees like that. They just relish, you know, like I think they're like excavators, right? They go into, I don't know, places and scriptures just to know things about Krishna. And so I just relish that. I relish hearing Krishna's pastimes. Just today I was listening to something Satchidananda Maharaj. I was like, whoa, I never heard that before. You know, yeah, that gives me a lot of joy. And I see when I get stressed, like right now, we're a little stressed, I just stop and I'll put on something I hear about Krishna. That's it. I'm ready to go again. You know, it's not chanting. It's not, you know, it's just something about Krishna. And we could do that anywhere. So I think we all have to find what that, like Brahma's creative energy, right? Creatively, what can we all do to connect us with Krishna? Creatively. And we all have a bit of Brahma's potency, all of us. So find some creative way to connect with Krishna. Yeah. For me, it's hearing people speak about him, about Krishna. Yeah. So I don't know if that helps out.
Yes, it helps a lot. It helps a lot. This Krishna is so mischievous, and at the same time, he's so sweet. So,
So sweet. So
yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
And you know, so I wanted to say too, because I don't want to minimize the services that are connected to Krishna. You know, like some people get joy out of distributing prasada. Some people get joy out of, you know, doing Harinam. Some people, all the services some people get joy out of building projects. I know a devotee that's their joy, just to keep building projects, keep building something, you know. So we just got to find where we get our joy. Find it and not minimize why that person is getting their joy that way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we do sometimes. We think, oh, I'm getting my joy like building, and then somebody else come along and like, why are you building this? Why are you doing that? When that's the way the person's connected with Krishna, you know. So yeah, I appreciate people more for what their creative way may be to connect with Krishna. Yeah.
That actually is very interesting, because that has been one of many issues that some of us have been complaining and whining about, because in West Africa in particular, what brings us some sort of joy about Krishna is Harinam Sankirtan, singing and dancing. And then it got to a point that devotees were prevented from doing hectic kirtans. So it's like, wow, this is how the devotees relish Krishna consciousness. And now they are being deprived, because it says you cannot use more than one mridanga, you cannot use more than 2-3 karatals. And I guess part of the reason was, as I heard, was because devotees were not playing the instruments nicely. They were just new instruments haphazardly. But I believe that whatever aspect in devotional service that gives particular devotee joy to continue his or her devotional service should be encouraged. So,
Definitely. Yeah, that's not the mood of Lord Chaitanya. You know, in Srivas Angam, when the devotees were doing kirtan, they kind of wouldn't even let people come in. It was very private, and you know, Lord Chaitanya, because they were just so wild with their kirtans. They were scared that people would freak out.
Yeah.
You know, so they closed it up. So that's not, I mean, I remember many years ago when we started doing African preaching in America. And that was like, the late 80s, maybe early 90s. And Gurudev told us to go out in Harinam with African clothes, not to wear saris and dhotis. And we would do Harinam in Washington, D.C. in African clothing. You know, that was a time when all of us wore African clothes, right?
Mm.
And we would attract a lot of people like that. So I think, you know, Lord Chaitanya's movement is not limited, you know, we tend to do that, but it's not. So again, yeah, I agree with you. Don't stifle someone's creativity. You know, I remember going to Mexico with Guru Maharaj, and I remember this so clearly up until today. So we're circumambulating. Two stories I'll tell about Mexico: circumambulating Tulsi Devi, and so all the men circumambulated, and the ladies were standing, you know, on the side. Then the Tulsi plant was taken away to another room.
What?
Yes, it was taken away to another room. And the ladies had to walk out of the temple room to go to that other room. And I remember Guru Maharaj was like a lion. Bring that Tulsi plant back in here and let the mothers, you know, water Tulsi. He was like a lion. And I still remember that. Another time I remember the prashadam, right? Gurudev wanted to like honor Mexican prashadam. And the devotees said, but we can't because we can only offer the deities rice dal sabji. Gurudev told the temple president, these devotees need to cook. You know, what's here in this country. You're not going to keep devotees if they're not able to eat, you know, their native prasadam or their local prasadam. So yes, you can make rice dal chapatis, but you also make, you know, whatever that was. I think it was like, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, anyway, maybe beans or anyway, something different that the local devotees ate because we couldn't get it in the temple. And Gurudev was like, why is that? This is Mexico. It's not, you know, like, so Gurudev was very creative and loving and very, like I said, like a lion to address different things that we tend to put labels, you know, we label people, they don't do this, they're supposed to do this. Yeah. That was just not much. Wasn't his.
Thank you so much. Dr. Hassan, yes, please you may unmute.
Oh, Hare Krishna. I think what this Prabhu said now bring one question to my mind. So, for instance, I love praying Caritas, although I'm not perfect in that, but I just love to pray it. And if I find myself in the devotees and we are praying Kirtan and I'm praying Caritas, and maybe one Maharaj or one senior devotee come and say I have to stop it. Should I stop it or should I continue? Because this is what gives me joy, and I'm praising Krishna. So should I continue doing that or should I stop that? Because if I don't stop it, I'm making offense. This is my question.
Honorable Dr. Hassan. So, you know, thank you. That's a beautiful question because you're new and it's really important to understand these things. So there's two answers I'd like to share for that. I remember my Ekivera Prabhu, he loves music and he loved, you know, he loved to sing. And at a time, he would chant, you know, but it wasn't like professional. I mean, it still isn't maybe, in his mind, he thinks it's not professional. But it wasn't up to the standard, like maybe most devotees would think. And so I remember Guru Maharaj, before he left his body, this is one of the instructions he gave to Ekivera Prabhu. He said, go to Mayapur and learn to chant, you know, learn to chant properly. And I want you to chant for the devotees. And Ekivera did that. He went and learned to chant. So okay. In Chaitanya's pasta, those devotees, I'm guessing, you know, they come from that part of the world. They're expert in those instruments because those instruments are from that part of the world. So it's important, I think, if you have opportunity to learn how to play properly. That's important. Play properly means, you know, like it's hard for somebody that's a musician to follow someone that's, if it's a 1, 2, 3 beat, you know, Bing, ding, ding, and then somebody's doing 2-beat, it's hard for the musician singing to follow that. So you want to learn how to work like a symphony, right? How to be a symphony. And in a symphony, every instrument has its place, and it's played in a way that it complements everyone else. So it's not like we're doing it just for ourselves. So that's the first thing, first answer, Dr. Hassan. The second answer would be not that you just say, do it, I'm just going to do it anyway, because even though they don't like it, because you could be making an offense depending on who that devotee is, so you don't want to make offenses, especially in the beginning of your devotional life, because it can crush you, right? Offenses. So I would say maybe share with the devotee, people, I'm not so expert, but I really want to play. I'm not so expert, but I love to play, the cartels. I think any devotee that's a little bit aware and sensitive will accept that if you request in the right mood. But I'm not that expert, but I love to play in Harna. Now, if you get somebody that's just, because you do have devotees like this too, that are very hardcore with what they think and how it should be, and they're like that. And those devotees could be committing offenses to you. They don't often think like that because they might think they're senior, but offenses is not just for younger devotees. Offenses for everybody. So a senior devotee could be committing an offense to a junior devotee. So a senior devotee really needs to have that kind of compassion and sensitivity to know, like, okay, this person is new, how best to encourage them? How can I encourage them? And generally that would be the mood of a devotee. But if you find somebody that's not like that, then I would just, I'm just giving you my reflection on this. I would humbly just know I don't want to commit any offenses to you. So Hare Krishna, pray for me, pray for that person, and find another party that you can join that will appreciate you for where you are, because we have all, Bhakta Hassan, there are all kinds of devotees in our movement, all kinds, from seniors to juniors to this to that. And a lot of times people are just committing offenses to each other. And so as much as you can, as much as you possibly can, I know you're a warrior. However, try to use the warrior mood of extending kindness, even when somebody's crazy. I mean, please forgive me to say that, but there are some devotees that they're devotees. And like I said, a part of that devotee might be very sectarian, very fanatical, very authoritarian. It's not the whole devotee that's like that. It's just that part. And maybe that part you might want to stay away from, because that part might, it might be so, like, you might get so disturbed by that part that then you make the mistake of offending the whole of the devotee, and then that's not healthy, right? That's not healthy. So just say that part, I can't be around that part. I do that. There's some parts of devotees that I'm like, I can't, I'm sorry. I take myself out of it. I just can't, because it's too distracting. So yeah, this is the time to use intelligence dealing with devotees.
Thank you so much. Very grateful. Thank you, Mother.
Okay, thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you, and we're looking forward to serving you.
Yes. I'll see you on the weekend.
Yes, all our family are coming. All our family are coming together to serve you.
Okay, so I'll call you after the class if it's possible.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Mother. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, so devotees, we thank you all as always. I think we'll bring this to a close. And Mother Raj, thank you so much for beginning the week with us, making it more auspicious with your sangha and with your love and wisdom shared with us today. So, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Sahadev. Hare Krishna, Mother VRAJALILA.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I just want to say
blessed.
thank you for doing this today, because I know how it's difficult. It's crazy. All this service you're trying to put together to make sure Good Dave's place is whatever, that we can do the program, and you still get the time to do this. When I saw your name, I was like, how is she going to do this? And you did it.
Yeah.
So I'm just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Hare Krishna.
See,
Well,
this is mercy and grace that I'm receiving from Mother Yashoda. This will keep me going for the rest of the day. Thank you.
That is the more reason why I don't want us to keep her here much longer. So, Mother Yashoda, Devi, thank you so much. And Mother Bright, like Mother Yashoda just said, we can't thank you enough. And thank you again. So, dear please, you may all unmute and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation and gratitude to our beloved big sister, Grace VRAJALILA Devi. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpa tarupishcha, Anantapati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Oh, it's gone West Africa ki. Haribo.
Hare.
Ready.